This episode brought to you by BRE Promotions. Whether you're just starting out or evolving your brand, BRE Promotions offers you expertly crafted disruptions that'll take you to the next level. BRE Promotions. We make your business shine. Visit us at brepromotions.com to schedule your free consultation.
NoBoBuMe.
Hi there. My name is Miss Saida. I'm a hoodoo practitioner. I'm a psychic reader. I'm a witch. And you are listening to the show Nobody But Me, hosted by the wonderful Bryan Bowden.
Hello, folks and fans, and welcome to another edition of NoBoBuMe, which stands for Nobody But Me. That's right, on our Inside the Goblin Universe network. Over at Podbean. You should definitely check it out. We have a lot of great shows. It's a mix, so there's always some good stuff coming in and out of that broadcast area. Today we have a great guest, and it's a great way to, I would say, end the year out with a very interesting gentleman, as well as something he's just recently published. And we're going to be talking about that today. I want to welcome to the show. Sorry about that. It's been tough with being basically confined these so many months. But let's welcome Paul Ieson to the broadcast. How are you, Paul?
Well, hello, and thank you for having me on your show there, buddy.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I mean, this is like, you have the key, so you come in whenever the hell you want. But what's really great about this is, I think, since I've known you for a bunch of years now, I mean, there's been these stories and we've talked and alluded to certain different things here, but you've taken all this stuff, all these questions that not only I've had, but a mutual friend of ours, a couple of mutual friends of ours, Cindy as well as Big Al, and you've literally put pen to paper, or in this day and age, fingers to keyboard, and you popped out a book right now that I just finished reading. It's a great read. It's a fantastic read. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's fast-paced, it's action, it's everything, and it's available now, I believe, on Kindle, and it's Swamp Dust 4 Twisted Tales. Before we get into this great book, because this is what I want to talk about with you today, for anybody in our audience that may not know who you are, and the name may not sound familiar to some people, can you please give everybody a brief history of yourself?
Okay. Hey, guys. Well, I am Arizona Tramp, a.k.a. Wise Frog. All right. And, my real name is Paul Ieson, and I had the show Swamp Gas for years, the radio station Black Swamp Radio for a long time, until I got sick of that. And we're not going to really get into that crap, okay? But, I had to get out of that. It was very depressing towards the end. Very depressing. And so Swamp Dust was the initial book that I released. And it has 4 short stories. One is Twisted Life. And then there's a couple of, there's that story about the haunted town that I live in, all the different hauntings that's going on. That's rather short. Then there's a short little, story that I wrote about a dragon. And then there's Twist of Fate, which, how do you put it? It is the first part to the novel Immortals Among Us, and that is a 4-part novel. So if you want to read my work and see whether you even like me or not, then you read Swamp Dust. And if you do like me, then go ahead and you can buy Immortals Among Us. And Twisted Life, as of today, I will hit the submit button today.
Right.
And you have to reread that story, Brian, because
Yep.
the beginning of the story is a little bit different, and it starts different. I'm not going to give anything away.
Right.
And the end is, I rewrote the end of it because there's stuff in that I didn't put in the original version. That is, and by the way, for those people who like this kind of stuff and know who I am, this story, Twisted Life, is basically the biography. You can either take it as fiction or you can take it as truth. It's up to you.
Yep. It's very interesting, and I'm actually more than happy to reread because I want to see how you made your adjustments and you did your creative, I'm going to call it edits on the actual story. We've had a discussion after actually when I was reading this. I get the phone call from you and like, well, or a text, and we had a couple of discussions, and I'm like, it's a fantastic book. Now, I want to. This is where I wanted to talk about it, and I'm gonna go basically in order, if it's all right, a little bit here.
Well, hang on a second,
Sure.
because Brian is doing the cover for Twisted Life. Twisted Life: Time Slips, Reality Shifts, and Aliens. Okay, that I think that is like an awesome name. I mean, I don't care if anybody else likes the work. I do. I'm pretty proud of it, and I really like the cover that Brian did for this. This is fucking awesome.
My pleasure. My pleasure. When I do covers for people, a lot of it, 99% is for friends. I just have a hard time charging people for whatever. I'm an idiot that way. But what I like to do is encompass a lot of what you're going to encounter, or allude to what you're going to encounter in the cover. And let me tell you, let's start with that one. That's Twist of Fate. It was just, what a great way to end a novel on a suspenseful level. It was, I want people to understand the way the writing is done is as if you're sitting by a campfire and someone's telling you this story. Okay, it's not your traditional literature in that sense. It's written, there's a lot of dialogue, there's imagery and everything, but it's like you've got to wrap your mind around, like, you're sitting right next to Paul at a campfire, and he's just like revealing this. And it's great.
That's exactly how I intended it.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I got it. And, some of these people that are out there in this world may not like that style, but that is literally how you have to take this in. It's as if you're eavesdropping on this campfire conversation. And once you get that into your head, it flows. It still flows beautifully either way, if you even don't have the imagery in there. I started off the book, and you even said that's basically how this is written. And if you don't like it, kiss my, what?
Kiss my ass, yeah.
Kiss my ass. And that's, I can appreciate more of that stuff. And I think a lot of us that are, we're fans of you. You're a really great guy. I've considered you like a brother and a family besides this. But it's like, that's you, and I would expect nothing else from you. If you came out with like, do you have any Grey Poupon? I'd be like, who the hell are you, and what you do with them?
Well, Rod Serling. I'm a big fan of Rod Serling, and a big fan of Vincent Price, and a big fan of Ray Bradbury. So there's where I get my influences from to write. Is people like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, don't make your stories so damn drawn out that, you're just going to, get sick of it and put it down.
Something that I think is lacking in today's world is the ability for the person that's experienced the media, be it audio, video, or book, book, written, print, to actually start to use something that we used to use growing up before all this electronics and technology, is our imagination.
Yeah.
and you literally bring us back to that point and give a sample of what it's like to not rely on a piece of electronics, even though you're reading it from a Kindle, you know. But
Okay.
but you've got to, you know, you try. That's what I loved about your writing is that you're there.
Well, Immortals Among Us, which was originally Ancients of Days Lies Hidden Within Us, and that book is on Amazon as well for $900. And CreateSpace people told me to list it at that price if I didn't want it sold. Because,
Right.
okay, what happened to make this, get this out of the way real quick, is
Sure.
I submitted my work to CreateSpace. It was not any good. It needed high editing. So my wife, Kelly, edited the book. It was perfect. We submitted it to CreateSpace, and the file would never update.
Gotcha.
Okay? So they screwed me on that. I had someone do an awesome cover, and, you know, so it looks really nice, but that's what's wrong with that novel. So what I did is I rewrote it as what do you call it? Immortals Among Us. And it is rewritten, re-edited. It's the best it will ever be, as far as I'm concerned. And that's where the story comes from. Now, the story itself took 10 years to write because it happened. I wrote it during the time that I was, you know, traveling. I started the book with pen and paper. And a week later, I had my first computer with Word 95.
Right.
And then I ended up in Sedona and had nothing. So I had pen and paper, and I wrote a whole part, the second part of the novel, with pen and paper. And then I had to go back through and put it in a digital format. So a lot of things went on in my life at that time where it literally took me 10 years to write that book. And finally, when I published it, CreateSpace fucked me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, but yeah.
You know, so anyway, that's the history of what that's about. It's my first work, and that was published. My first work that was published,
Right.
And you can literally read the difference between the work then and the work recent.
Now, don't get me wrong, because I have my book on CreateSpace. I have a couple people have books on CreateSpace. If you want to go purchase The Ancient Days Lies Hidden Within for that $902, that is a pretty profit for you. You know, so.
Oh, come on. No, nobody's going to spend that. It's intended. The price is intended so that no one will.
Yeah, but if
buy
someone
that
does
book.
that, you know what that profit is? That's hundreds of dollars in profit.
Oh, well,
that would be like,
nobody's going to buy that.
Yeah.
Nobody ever will. I don't care how famous I am. No, not that I'm ever going to be famous, but, you know, I mean, it's still, nobody's going to buy that. Nobody's
Right.
going to buy a Stephen King novel for that kind of money, let alone buy my novel for
unless
that
it was written in like Stephen King's blood, but which we can probably
Which,
manufacture something like that.
Yeah,
But
could
you
be
know,
a pain.
yeah, I mean, you know, this is one of the things, like, you know, when I started reading it, I'm like, holy crap, is this an autobiography? You know, I mean, like, in many ways, it's like, not that it reads from experience, and, you know, not to say that I want it to be your autobiography, but I mean, when you get into, like, when you start off this book, you just, like, literally, like, boom, you hit the ground running. You are going 95, 100 miles an hour on a freaking bike, and you're flying. You know, you start off in that twisted life, you know, story, and all this stuff just starts getting shotgunned to you, and you're going in and out of different type of, I guess, is it realities that story is based on?
Well, you know, time slips, reality shifts, and aliens. Yeah,
Right.
realities. I'll give you an example of a reality that's different than this reality. In this reality, the Twin Towers, both Twin Towers, both towers, they fell. In a different reality, only one tower fell, and it wasn't hit by a plane. It was another reason it came down.
Right.
You know, but the thing is that it came down, and it's going to come down every time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be because two planes hit it.
Right, and it could be Tower 2 this time. The next time it could be Tower 1.
Exactly. It depends. A different reality is okay. So it doesn't have to be the same person every single time to cause an event to happen. Doesn't matter how big or small that is.
Right. It's just very interesting that pardon the expression, folks. It's like a mind fuck, as you use a couple
Exactly.
times in this.
The event is the fixed point in time, not the person or persons involved in causing that event to happen.
Right.
And that's where you get your split in between different realities.
And in this story, you're going. I mean, what? I don't want to give away too much. I want people to actually read this. But the characters are just characters. I mean, they're freaking amazing. Now, this mom character in that story, and I think
She's a.
yeah. Oh, I just lost you. I just lost Paul. I'm going to try to call him back right now.
I mentioned my mother in the computer.
I'm with you on that, man. That's something my witchy bitchy mother would have done as well. So I'll get back into it about the character of your mom, which is almost a dual role there. There's some interesting stuff in there.
Well, when you read the first part of the new book here,
Yeah.
in the next few days, you'll understand how she was able to do that.
Okay, that's not a problem. I mean, and in that story, I mean, the people you meet a variety of individuals that are just in themselves alone could probably be a short story. Between your grandfather Ed, that priest that we're gonna meet.
Oh, you want to talk about Colling? I can tell you about the Collingwood incident.
You know what? Let's give me a little bit about the Collingwood incident, but with I don't personally want anybody to reveal to me. It's kind of hard when you're talking about a book. You want to go with a certain sequence, but you don't want to screw the reader out of it. So go into a Collingwood experience.
Well, I'll tell you the way that they have the records for it now.
Sure.
The Collingwood Art Center is a real place. And it is called the Collingwood Art Center now because they, for a while there, they had artists live there. And the artists would create their work there and so on and so forth. But back in the day, it was owned by the Catholic Church after the original builder donated it to the Catholic Church. And this was back in the 20s. And during the time, I changed the timelines inside the book, but it was actually more of like 1940 when this priest lived there. And the priest was an evil son of a bitch. And the head nun, the mother superior, was in on it, but they don't tarnish their names as far as the public knows today. And
that's very interesting.
It stopped being owned by the nuns in like 68, 69. It was owned by the Catholic Church until 1980 or something like that. But the nuns did not live there after 1969. The church did not use the building after that. And then it was purchased and used for other things after that.
Right. It's a very interesting, when you want to talk about timing and time travel and I guess synchronicity of events. There's, I've read this book. It's been out for a couple of weeks now, right?
Yeah.
I believe.
Well, I should say 1930s. 1930 is when the main character and the main characters of the book
right.
were at at the facility. And it was just after World War I. And what they did is there was nowhere to put the homeless vets. And it was just after the swine flu and all this kind of neat stuff, which was basically, no, that was 1920, wasn't it? That would have been
21, I believe, right?
That would have been 1921. Yeah, sorry, I get things screwed up sometimes. But at the same time, there were so many children running around that they would let the children stay and there's no record of. If you formally go and do any research about the Collingwood Arts Center here in Toledo,
right,
there's no record of how they used it for orphans. But they did. If you remember, a few years ago, I was with Harold from Ghost Hunters, Toledo Ghost Hunters, and we were in the Collingwood Art Center, and we were in the attic, and I made the comment on audio, if there's any children here, please give us a sign. And boom, 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 you hear, it sounded like 20 people stomping their feet on the ground. But you're looking at the video, and nobody's fucking moving.
Right. I remember actually when you released that, and now I can see the correlation and the connection to it. You know, it's you got to understand, like, you know, you releasing this book, the Four Twisted Tales, and in that first story, things are going down in there that are being validated today. There was recently, I think in the last couple of weeks, this former archbishop for the United States, released and gave an open letter to our president telling them of the evil deeds that the Vatican and the church have been doing. And I read that recently because it was a second letter from this archbishop, and I immediately thought of this book, and I immediately thought of that establishment and what you're gonna discover in there. It's just another great layer on top of that.
I don't want to give too much away, but the priest would take these children, and he not only let's just put it this way. One of the things he did with the children was sell them into human trafficking. That's not everything he did. Right. That was just one of the things that he did. Do you remember Kara? My friend Kara?
Yes.
From the swamp, the chat room in the swamp.
Yes.
She was there.
Oh,
she was there. She goes by Tara, is her name in the book. Okay. All right. I didn't mention too much about her because Kara didn't want me to.
Well, that's fine.
But,
you know,
but I do mention her in there, and so in River Song, yes, she gets the name from Doctor Who, of course, but I explain the reason why, and her real name is Colleen, and she was there with me, and she has gone all over the place with me. Only this time she didn't want to go through that we went through again, and for some reason. And I think the aliens had something to do with this personally,
right?
Is that they allowed us to remember what we had done in our past realities or lives, or however you want to go about talking about it, because they wanted to see whether or not we would actually go through the shit again, even though we knew the outcome and how badly it was. And, you know, there was an event in the book where the last part of the bad decisions that I made were because the little girl in the book had died. She was brought back. We managed to bring her back.
Right.
But at the same time, he's still all fucked up in the head because she's dead.
Yeah.
And can you imagine the mind fuck that's going on with this guy?
This is the whole thing about the story.
And he's making the bad decisions because he's so mind fucked.
Yeah, you know, this is what I was saying. Like this whole, you know, there's a lot of that going on here, that mind fuck. But really, you bookend in this book is like really great mind fucks and twists and turns, and it's just I would probably lose my shit if I remembered all these things, as these travelers have done. And yeah, you know
Well,
what? I don't blame them not wanting to go back, and
it,
it's painful.
it's pain. Oh, dude, it is so painful. Every single night of my life, I lay here in my bed at night, and something about what happened in the past comes up in my head. Even if you don't believe in the time travel, this story is a good story.
Oh yeah.
Read it just for the sake of reading it, and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, I mean, like what I would say to anybody when you read this book, what I wanted was, and I think I said it to you before, I'm like, I wanted more. I wanted more information. I wanted you to go deeper into these little stories between some of the famous people you're going to meet throughout this journey, and
Well,
that are mentioned. You know,
I sort of did that. I didn't really touch too much on that because it would take away from the rest of the book. But in Twisted Life, you've got the beginning and the end that add to the story and accentuate the story, or however that word is pronounced.
Right. It's what's very interesting. You said you get the beginning and the end, but do you really have the end? Because there's a couple different catches in this book, and it's really going to blow your mind.
Well, there's a great big catch to the book.
Yeah.
Great big catch. That is, if you don't go back and you don't do the things that you did before, well, the events still transpire.
Right.
I mean, what about Artemis and the fact that she actually she inherited River's money, and she has a house, or had a house until she died, and her family still lives in that house and resides along the Maumee River. All right, so if I don't do the events like I did them before, how does that happen in that family? The house will be there, but the family will not be there. And you've got 3-4 generations of fucking people there now that wouldn't exist.
Right, and what's very interesting is, and this is something that I think we've had a couple different conversations with throughout the years before this book it was penned by you. It's a lot of people foresee or foretell the future, and they've seen the future. They go in advance. They say this shit's going to happen. Boom, 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 and something I've learned throughout many years, and I think we may have even had not an argument, but we've discussed it several different times, and we also talked with Cindy about this. Is I've come to the terms that the future, although what you're seeing is reality, the future is fluid. You actually mentioned that in the book.
Yes,
which is very important. You can understand that, but it's fluid, meaning it can change. But I think there's always, what you're saying in this story is there are certain elements, certain segments that even though things change, will always remain the same. There is nothing you can say that's going to change it.
There are events that will stay the same. There are events that will not happen, and there are events that will happen. Only they will either happen sooner or later in the timeline,
right,
from where you're used to. Things are so fluid that it's just like throwing a pebble in a river. At the very beginning of the river, you will always the flow of that river will always be changed, forever changed after that.
Right.
But it's not enough of an influence to keep that water from doing what it's going to do further down the river. It just happens in a different way.
Yeah, there's so much momentum, it seems, behind the story, and you kind of. What's really great is you feel for these characters that are going in there and doing what they got to do, trying to prevent a specific end or an outcome, and you can feel you get the anguish and you get the agony. This is why it's a great story. It's like it's the ultimate campfire tale. It's one.
it's like he got Back to the Future where, he had something to do with his parents. And then you've got what I just wrote. And it tells you why you don't fucking want to do that, man.
I said it's really funny because Al, and I and you were on. We have a little chain there, and I gave you a summary of basically the bottom line is don't let you ever make decisions. It's weird. It's like you can try all you want to do certain things, but if I was like, if they tell you to go left, you need to go right. It's just, but this is part of us as individuals. No matter if you're a human species, an alien species, or whatever, it's part of the learning curve, and it's in you. It's innate in you. I mean, we were talking about why is it in this story, because it's a lot of time travel. There's a lot of time travel in all of this. Well, I'm going to say there's time travel and a dimensional travel. I'll just say that.
There's reality slips.
Yeah.
And things like that. And a reality slip is different than a time slip. And a time slip is, okay, you wake up and something's different when you wake up than it was the day before. And that's what a time slip is. It's like, okay, well, events seem to have changed, and I'm repeating what happened 6 months ago in some aspects. That's what a time slip is, as close as I can come to.
And are you conscious of it? Is it like a deja vu moment?
Well, unless you're able to pay attention to it and you understand what it is, you shake your head and move on.
Oh, so it's not like a deja vu. Like, I think I just did this. It's just, because actually, a couple of my kids have been having.
Okay, here's a great example of a time slip.
Okay.
You know the My Pillow guy?
Yes. The
My Pillow guy. All right. 25, 30 years ago, or whatever it was, 1983, 84.
Right.
When I'm with my first wife, and my kids are not even a year old, My Pillow guy was selling his pillows on the TV. If you go to his website,
seriously?
If you go to his website, 11 years ago is when he started selling his pillows. That is a time slip. Hello?
Hold that thought. Hold on. I had my mute on because, I've learned my lesson. So, after doing this for a couple of years, you learn to shut your mouth and shut off the volume, and then you forget about it. But so now what I'm thinking is the My Pillow guy's a fucking alien.
No.
He's just a time traveler.
You experienced the time slip. It had nothing to do with him.
Oh, it has nothing to do with him.
It has nothing to do with him.
He's just doing what he's doing, unaware that he's
doing
going
what
in and out of
he's
time.
doing. You went through the time. You went through the time slip.
Gotcha.
He didn't go through the time slip. In the reality that you are presently in right now, he started his thing 11 years ago. That is the time slip. That is the reality change.
That's interesting. Here, speaking of time, while we're still on this time slip, thing, when one of the questions I had is, why do you, with time only, go back or ahead so far? You are limited to certain aspects of that.
So when I was a kid, I got my measles shot and things like, I got my polio shot and all this kind of happy stuff. If I go back 500 years, the strain that even remotely covered that is no longer existent, and I am not protected.
Very interesting concept.
If I go back 500 years, all right, say I went back 500 years and I'm in England, they're not going to understand my speech. They're not going to understand how I talk, and I'm not going to understand how they talk. Plus the fact they're going to look at me and call me a witch and kill me.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's like, witch!
But the same holds true in the future. Dialects have changed so much in the futuristic 500 in the future, 500 years from now, that communication is going to be incredibly hard, incredibly difficult. All right, that alone, the fact that disease. If I go back 500 years,
Right.
and or however long ago the Black Death. Well, I'm not going to go back to the period of the Black Death.
Neither am I. That's not on my hit list.
Difficulty enough understanding Mr. Commodore Perry. All right, back in 1811 and 1812.
Little connection.
It took a while to get used to it, and it took him a while to be able to understand me. And he usually had to speak for me when I wanted something.
Well, that's with Commodore Perry.
That was with Commodore Perry, who was one of the main reasons that we won the War of 1812.
Right, and
he played a great, big, significant part in that.
And if I'm correct, didn't he travel to the Arctic?
No.
Wasn't that? Oh, was that Which Perry was that then? It's not the same.
I do not remember.
Okay.
But Commodore Perry didn't do that. And your currency, all right, obviously, you have no currency for back then. You can't afford to exchange currency in this day and time for the currency back then, which was gold. You can't afford to do that. All right. So what I did is I would do things like I'd buy a 5-pack of big lighters, and I would trade them.
Nice.
Big lighters. If anybody found them in this day and age, they just say, "Oh well, somebody's been here before."
Right.
For one, and for two, they would be so degraded by now that it wouldn't matter. And back then, the lighter lasts for a month, depending on how you use it, a month or 2 or 3 or whatever the fuck, and it's done. And they do not have the ability to create that lighter in that time. Even though they can see how it works and understand how it works, they don't have access to the parts. They don't know what plastic is. They don't, or anything. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep. I get it. I mean, and that actually, it's really funny. Favorite lighter is the Bic lighter. I gave up my Zippos after I lit my mother's roof on fire in the car once. Yeah, that was a bad idea. That thing went up like a Christmas tree. But what a novel way to, not that necessarily you want to prove that you're from the future or whatever, but it sure is something interesting that would catch my attention. If it's almost the equivalent of someone coming back here and here you go, and you point something at it, like the new lighter where you point it's a light beam, like a laser or something like that. I'm like, oh my God, we don't have something like this. But I think it was Admiral Perry who went to the Arctic. So I was just looking that up, and I actually found the Perry apartments. So
the Commodore Perry apartments. Yeah.
Yes, I found a link to that, and I can see the hotel and motel Holiday Inn there. It's a beautiful building. I was just in that building. Let's see, what was it? August. I finally weaseled my way into the building, and I'm standing at the stairs, right
where the stairway that goes up to the restaurant is. They've got that blocked off.
Yep.
And I am just wishing and wishing and wishing and wishing and wishing that she would come down the stairs and talk to me.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I've got a security guard that is getting ready to walk through the door and either, at the very least, give me a ticket for trespass. So I went in there illegally. I didn't have permission to go in there. You are not allowed in there unless a resident brings you in there, or you've got some other formal business in there, or you have written permission, like Chris Tillman from Haunted Toledo.
Right. You have to.
They no longer. That was a one-shot deal when they did that, and they won't let me in there. They won't let anybody in that fucking place. And if I were to hit the lottery, I would buy that building just so I could go walking through there.
Right. I mean, it's actually outstanding. It's gorgeous. It's
Oh man, that's $3,000 for an apartment in there.
yeah. Well, money talks,
Yeah,
and
back in the day, it was. Uh, I mean, it was extravagant back in the day. I can't tell you. It was like it was very expensive to live there.
yeah.
Very expensive. And the building that's next door, where uh, the main character stayed, that building has been closed down now since 1970.
That must be it's something is interesting with this story when you go back and forth and you're reading this story, and I'm telling you, go get this. It's a Kindle. It's a fast read. It's a quick read. You're going to enjoy every moment of it, and I guarantee it's going to lead you to the next and the next and the next. But it triggers those moments in me when, like, you have that, like, when you walk in someplace, you're like, this place looks so freaking familiar, and you've never been there before, or you think you haven't been there before. It's an amazing place. Is that the staircase when you go in and it's like a little rotunda in the front of it, and it looks like there's gates on it or whatever inside?
Yeah. You look, yeah. That's
Yeah.
exactly that's it.
Yeah, it's just
If you look at the cover art that my stepdaughter did with the girl going up there in swamp dust, that very much resembles what that is. But
yeah.
that was an artist rendition of it, and she has never seen the staircase, so she had to do with what she could.
Right. I mean, it's just it's an amazing place. They don't make them like that anymore. I'll tell you that. But that alone is a great story. You're gonna the characters in it are amazing. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of, like, oh crap, moments like that did not just happen. In relationship to parents and what parents do to each other. And you know what? In the end, you really are craving. You want more. You want more of that. And that segues into the haunted stories, which are very interesting stories in themselves. In the second, I'm going to break it into the second book. The short stories, the haunted. Interesting stories. I mean, I love these little ghost stories, and they kind of like what is it, creature features? Remember the old days, creature feature? It's like a little bit of like an appetizer before you get into what I love, which is in the third end, which is that unfreaking believable story, and you got dragons in it, and dragons from that point forward.
Yeah.
And that is just and again, I'm like, I want more. I want more of this story. Like, how did it happen? Where did it come from?
I've got the swamp behind me, and this summer it was windy as all hell, and one great big dead cottonwood took out 5 trees in this wind. And I'm looking at it afterwards, before I cut it all. I mean, it's almost all, well, 95% of it's all cut up now and ready to burn. But I'm looking at it and saying, "Oh wow, that'd be great for a story. What a dragon knocked that down with its tail." I mean, that's when I came up with that. It's like, okay, well, that's what happened. And it's like the story has a happy ending, and all that kind of happy stuff, because people love happy endings.
Oh yeah, who doesn't like a happy ending? Okay, we're talking about different stories now, but go ahead. Sorry, folks, this isn't for kids, but I'm sorry, but no, seriously, everybody does love a happy ending.
Yeah.
No, it's like, it's a great story. It's really cool. It's like, I'm gonna say the word. It starts that magic, and it's like I wanted more. I wanted to know a little bit more about why it was there and how it was there, and you go into details, and but I want more. So of one of the other stories, if you ever got a moment and you felt so inclined, I would definitely love you to take your imagination and your and just expand on that one alone. That's a really, because I think there's something to that, and I think that's a great segue into the the next story. I mean, like, we're talking dragons. How could you not like them?
Oh yeah, Lady Mortician, Lady Morticia. That's the name I came up with for the dragon in Immortals Among Us. She is a very classy dragon, and she reminds you of the perception that you have in your head of dragons that speak, from all the other stuff that you've acquired over the years.
Right. But I didn't get the Sean Connery voice out of the dragon.
Oh, no, you're not going to get a Sean Connery voice.
No.
Morticia is female, so.
Oh, 100%. But it's just, and I didn't mean I don't want to jump from that to that, but I want to get into the last tale, which is Twist of Fate, because dragons pick it up there as well, and it seems like. It really does. It seems like a sidebar to one of the adventures in the first story. It almost like...
Does it? You get that?
Yeah, it seems like you kind of didn't tell it in Twisted Life, and then you kind of like, oh, and by the way, and it's because the settings are very similar in many ways.
Well, Twisted Life will make you cry, literally.
Yes.
You will cry. You cannot, if you don't cry, you will be very emotional. That's just the way that it works. It's not that way in Immortals Among Us.
No.
You don't get super emotional over the characters. You're not going to cry if somebody. I do kill somebody off, I think, in there, but you don't get emotional when the characters do the things that they do.
No, but you go from like the first. There's a lot of love in all stories. It's really prevalent in the first. And there's a different type of love in the unbelievable, unfreaking believable, and then it gets into like a real love, like you understand why someone is driven.
Well, the one thing I do that's important to mention with the immortal species that this book is about is the fact that my neighbor. Sue, she used to go in the chat room sometimes.
Yes.
She was asking me all about the gay girl, and I'm going, what? And then it dawned on me that people thought that she was being gay, and it's like, no, the species in the book, they don't judge gender at all. Love is love inside that book.
Right.
And it's they don't care if it's male, female, or whatever it is. Love is love. They're past that judgmental bullshit.
Right.
So,
which is fine. It's totally fine. What I found very interesting is the settings. In that one, when you drift into now, when you go into that moment, the place called the Shadows.
The Shadow Worlds.
You go to
the Shadow Worlds.
I found that to be a fantastic way to kind of explain almost like what happens, I guess, when you move from life, this human shell, this that you're held into
the astral.
Yeah, the astral plane, and it's just visually, I'm like, holy crap! I can see this. I could see this being transformed into a movie or a visual spectrum. It's an incredible place. Like, does things in that realm where you go to just defy the laws of physics, or is there certain rules and laws that govern that realm? Besides, what's her name, Lana, who apparently is one badass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's
very badass. Now, everybody in there is a badass except for the bug dude.
Yeah.
But well, you'll just have to find out what bug I'm referring to in there. Right. But the astral, I call it shadow because it's a different part of astral. It's the part of astral where in astral, when you have been to astral and you are conscious of it, aware of it, and so on and so forth, you understand that there is life there that exists there and doesn't exist in the physical world out of choice. This is that part, that much of that is true.
Right.
And there, if you want to, it's kind of like the border that you're always talking about of Bigfoot and stuff like that.
Right.
Jumping from the physical reality into the moment.
Right.
It's sort of something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it interdimensional or is it its own place?
It's its own place. In fact, I tend to go with the Aborigine thing and the Native American thing of this physical world came out of the dream time. The only difference, is that when you are in shadow, you use your mind to create things and make things happen, where you have to use your hands in this world. That's the big difference. You there?
Hold on. Yes, I'm still here. I apologize. I'm the mute guy again. I was going to ask you on the question of that. I like that concept where you're using your mind to create what you need or want. But are you governed in shadow by something that says like, hey, I want to be the richest person in shadow? That crap's not going to happen.
Well, when you read Immortals Among Us, you can have as much as you want or as little as you want. It depends on what your mindset is. And there's an example of that in Immortals Among Us about exactly what you're asking.
Right. I mean, I'm like stoked about this. You know, the series and you know. I just picked up The Immortals Among Us, and I haven't yet to start reading it. I had to sync it. I'm waiting to get into that one because.
Remember what I said before I forget. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, not a problem.
But thought creates reality.
Yeah,
remember when I said that? I've fucking 7 years ago now. Thought creates reality. That's basically what this whole shadow deal is.
Yeah, something that we all. You were doing it as well as Al and myself. We do the investigations into the paranormal and the concept of totems or whatever. The thought process, creating some of these weird paranormal cryptid-esque species, has always played. It's always in the back of the head of the thinking. Is that the case? Is that true? And what you see here in Shadow. It's what's great I love about this story is I'm a D&D geek, so deal with it, people. I played Dungeons & Dragons. It was I still have the original books. They're probably worth a little bit more than I bought them for, but it's the fantasy part of it. There's a lot of magic being used.
There's a one event that happens where there's two dragons fighting. And the main characters were on the back of one of the dragons until they started fighting, but they don't fall to the ground because they don't want to.
Right. It's almost like you can have a giant cliff that's 10,000 feet high, and you can jump off of it, and you can float yourself down to the bottom because you don't want to fall to the bottom. It's really interesting concept. It's, again, I'm going to use a term like we've been using it from the beginning. It's a mind fuck because it's like. It allows your imagination to kind of run wild while this story is taking place. Like, what would I do in the shadow? Who would I be? It's a really great. It's a great love story, actually. And again, wanting more. It has all those elements to it. I mean, I've told you before that I think these stories should be their own graphic novels. And hopefully we can get that done with you.
Well, no, I originally at one point back a long time ago, back when I was still in Sedona, the graphic novel. There was when I first got to Sedona, there was a painter who I lived on his property for the first couple months. And he read the part that you did because that's all I had at the time. And he read that and he said that would make a great graphic novel. And just like today, back then, I don't know anybody that could do that work.
Yeah. I used to know someone. I was very good friends with him. He worked for Marvel as well as DC. Great, talented artist. He's one of my good friends from high school. Unfortunately, I mean, he would be the guy I would point you to, and he probably would have been like, "Yeah, I got this." He's very well known. Hector Colazzo. Hope you're all right up there, Hector. Unfortunately, he passed away. But this is something that if one of our mutual associates does have that kind of talent, I think this is something they want to get behind, and I call it what is it when you do pro bono, for free, just to get your name out there. Especially if you have enough talent, you're gonna love this story. This is so perfect for that kind of translation.
Well, I know someone who, Joseph Long is his name, and he is a graphic artist, but everything he does is an anime. So
no, that's not the style.
It's not the style of this book. So
it would be you need more. Not a comic. There was a style a long time ago. Oh God, my age. There was a series of comics that came out called Camelot 3000. It was the first time that they started using higher end paper and the printing process. And it based on Camelot, you could get the idea. That's the style that I would put this in, not the current comic style. There is a certain style. I don't know the full name, but anime is not. This is not an anime story.
No, it's not. Not at all.
I mean, you know what? Actually, Commodore Perry's adventures into Japan and Asia when he did go would be more on the anime because you could do a little more. It's relating to that culture, but this is a totally different forte. But it's such a great story. You know what? I really did love the book. I can't thank you enough. I know, I made a couple comments to you, and I know I may have pissed you off in those comments. And we'll just keep it like that. But it wasn't anything to bring anything down. I'm just saying, I'm like, these treated in a different way for a different type of reader.
Well, the thing I can say is read the stories for the stories. If you are a grammar Nazi,
oh God, yeah,
I don't give a flying fuck. If you're a grammar Nazi and you don't like it because you don't like the grammar, well, you know what? It is what it is. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, basically that's it. And again, you being you, I know that this is what you want, and it doesn't matter what anybody says.
Exactly. I learned a long time ago in life, you do what you need to do.
Right.
Don't worry about anything else. If somebody gets enjoyment out of what you do, it doesn't matter if it's my music, if it's my woodwork or whatever it is. If someone enjoys what I do and they're grateful for, reading or whatever they're doing and all that kind of happy stuff, that's great.
Yeah.
But you are going to, I don't care if you are the most perfect in whatever that you do, there's always going to be a critic.
Oh,
and
please.
You cannot let other people dictate what you want to do. You just have to do it. Plain and simple. Just do it, man. And don't let anybody stop you.
Yeah, no, I met, we were talking about all this stuff, and the bottom line is, when I put out what I wrote, my book, I put it out for me. There was an intention that if I was, conferences were to start up, I'd have something there to, sell. But I usually go to a conference and I'm giving a presentation on cryptids or ghosts or UFO, whatever it is. But there's always that table where everybody's trying to hawk their stuff. You can buy it if you want. I think it's a great this is words and music that I did, but like with this, I did it for me. Just like I think it's an important story. These stories are important, and people need to read them. They relate to current situation, current events, but also other events, the what ifs. If you're a Doctor Who fan, you definitely need to get this. Definitely. There's a lot. Yeah.
If you're a Doctor Who fan, you will enjoy this novel. It is nothing like anything about Doctor Who other than the similarity in character names. And where I might talk about the wibbly wobbly ball of stuff.
Yeah, it's just. But
at the same time, I also credit Doctor Who when I say that. So it's no plagiarism. I got to make damn sure there's no plagiarism.
No, it's not a plagiarism thing. And the reason why I said we're Doctor Who fan is if you'll get the little nuances here.
You'll understand. You'll have a better understanding of timelines and realities and how things intermingle. In Twisted Life, I took out the Doctor's notes that are in Swamp Dust. I took out the Doctor's notes, and there's I did that on purpose. But it really. I forgot where I was going with it. So
no, I mean, it just gives them go get it. It's more than affordable for everybody. These books, especially in Kindle format, they work on your phone, they work on your laptop, they work on your pads or whatever the hell they call this, your portable screens, and it's come on, it's like.
And the paperbacks, but Amazon is so incredibly slow right now. I ordered author proofs, and I haven't. I'm not going to receive them till the 20th of January.
Oh, please! When I did mine, they said it was like almost a month before I got them. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's a fucking month. And it's like, I'm sorry. Do you think I'm going to give you $15 for shipping when you can't get it here in a month? In the 3 to 5 days you say you're going to get it too.
Yeah, well, Amazon's weird. I guess they're taking care of all the crap that they're trying to sell to everybody else. But I definitely, I love I love physical book. There's something about them. I also love, when I get one of those, and I'm going to get that through you once you get them in.
Well,
the autograph copies. I told you, give me Al's.
Let's put it this way. I will have my bike fixed. I just have to change the oil on the bike.
Right.
And my oldest granddaughter, she's 18. She will come up with me, so I have a companion to ride with.
Right.
And I will come up and I will visit you, and I'll visit Al and whoever else, and I will bring signed copies of my book.
Awesome. I remember because Al said, I want a copy. Just tell me what I have to pay you. And I told you, give me Al's copy and just tell him it got lost in the mail.
Give me $1 million, you can have it.
Yeah, no kidding. So right now you have out, and we're rounding home right now. So as we see, Swamp Dust has been out for a bit, a couple of weeks now.
For a month or so.
Yeah, you just released Immortals Among Us.
Yeah, within the last week or so.
Right, and then you're releasing the.
As soon as I get the cover work back from you, I am going to release that, and then I'm done for a while.
Yeah.
And because I need to come up with something fresh. I mean, today I was toying around with a horror story about a guy that serial killers would be scared of.
That's a great concept right there.
It is, but you know what? I'm not going to go to that dark place.
Right. I mean, have you considered also maybe, because I've always said it, I loved Wednesdays when I heard, Dead in 5, and then I'm like, okay, cool, it's going to be a good show. You could possibly do the audio for this book and send out an audio version of it.
I forgot all about that. And Brian Anderson will master my work.
That is awesome. He's great.
He will master the work for me. I'm going to go ahead and I've already started working on it, but I have to start that over because I want to publish. And if nothing else, it will go on SoundCloud for free.
Oh, that's
because the publisher for the audio novels those publishers,
Right.
they're having the authors are having a great deal of trouble getting paid for their work. So I might as well just give it away for free.
Yeah, or you could do a PayPal type of thing, or even on Facebook, they offer you the ability to sell product and take payment.
Yeah,
Through
well,
PayPal.
I mean, I don't know.
99 cents. I mean, come on.
It's like my buddy, his wife drives trucks still, and
Hmm.
she wants the audio novel. She said a week and a half ago when I was over there visiting, she wanted the audio novel. And I said, it's
Right.
fine. Oh, I will get that done. And it's like the way times are right now. Okay, if somebody wants to give me $2.99 for a Kindle, that's great.
Yeah.
But you know what? People, $2,000 for a stimulus that they're talking about giving us now that they've
Right.
passed or some shit. That, for me, that's going to be why I can come see you this week, this summer. All right, but for
Yeah.
a lot of people out there, that's the difference between being homeless and not being homeless.
No, and this is the whole thing about it. I'm very mindful of what little I have, and what little many people have. I mean, our entire business is decimated. It's done. I mean, we get things here and there, but it's so few and far in between now, because I'm in that the branding stuff like embroidery, whatever, and all those parties that we had they're gone, thanks to the criminals in charge. But I'm very mindful that there's a lot of people that just can't, and literally 2.99 may be too much for them.
That's why, and people are going, my family members and stuff are going, why are you giving it away for free? So, well, because there's people out there that don't have $3.
Yeah, they don't, and or
And Amazon will only let me do that 5 days every 90 days.
right.
Every 90 days, I plan on giving my work away free.
Well, I mean,
And
that's
if you
fantastic.
want it, you do. If you don't want it, you don't. But it will be there for free.
So I mean, yeah, I would keep. Look, if you have it and you want to, definitely get it. It's worth the reading, and if you can, and if not, and if you want to read it, but you just can't muster up the currency right now, just wait. I mean, thanks to you, Paul, you're going to be putting it on every 90 days and stuff, which is awesome. This is people don't do that anymore.
Well, there was a time when I lived on, well, you read it in the
Yeah.
book.
Oh
I
yeah.
lived on the damn street. I didn't have a pot to piss in. All right. I know what it's like not to have anything. And I know what it's like not to be able to get to that place that you need to be so you can have a decent life because you don't have the ability to get there because you're on the street.
Right.
And I
It's
don't want to see, and it's not anything I want anybody to go through.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And one of the things I got out of this, and I said it to Al. I was like, I thought I had a messed up life, but you take the cake. You're like the king
Oh,
in my
yeah.
zone.
My
I
life
mean,
was a fucking train wreck in that book, wasn't it?
holy crap! And wow. Yeah, there's more of an appreciation for what you've done and how you've the person you are right now that I've known for a bunch of years now.
Now, we do have to mention that there is strong language that is used in
Yes.
my stories.
Yeah, I mean it's not for children. You don't want to read them to
No,
read
it's
this as
not.
a
It's
bedtime story.
14, 13, 14, 15, the way things are today, that's fine. But it's not
Right.
for preteens, and it's not for uh, kids under 10.
And
It's
yeah, but that's not the entire book. I would definitely recommend that some like the haunted stories and the unfreaking believable and the last story. It's really the first story. It's a little bit more not as much for kids, but the rest of it. I mean, I think that magic story about the swamp and the dragon. You can actually kind of tell the children about that. You take it and then give them a little bedtime story with that one. Because of the
oh
magic,
yeah.
and also,
Well,
if
if
you
I
want,
ever write any kid stories, I'll just be sure to include that in the kid
oh,
stories.
definitely include that. And also the last story is interesting because it's a long enough story where you can kind of make it over a couple of nights, keep the kids intrigued, and it's you can get rid of the colorful stuff for kids if you needed to. I'm just talking about as if you're repeating it as a story, like a bedtime story. But all
Well,
in
yeah.
all, it is it's a magical book. It really does kick a lot of butt, and it was it's very interesting when I gave it a review, and I pretty much said this is a wonderful ride into the realms of adventure and magic. And I said the author uses use of timelines, travel, history, magic, and dragons, along with the natural dialogue of the characters. It casts you deep into a web of adventure, and where you cry for more. And I meant it. It's fast paced. It's a fast read, but it's memorable. I can't wait to read the next one. I just downloaded it again, but for everybody that's paying attention to this lovely show, where else can they find you? If they have questions, if they want to connect with you, where can they get you? And also just tell them once again where they get your books.
Unfortunately, Swamp Dust is on Google Books too. And but I say unfortunately because they will not let you edit your work.
Oh.
So that version is not up to par. I'm not proud of it, and but it is what it is.
Right.
But where else can they find you? You find me on Goodreads, which is for authors. You find me on Facebook, and you don't find me anywhere else these days. But on Instagram, I think it's Tigger on or something like that on Instagram. I don't know.
Yeah.
But those are the three places that you find me.
Well, that and also very approachable for everybody that's listening. You can contact them. I mean, depends if he wakes up grumpy, sleeping be. but I definitely want to come back. Let's get you back and talk about the second book, and then when the third book comes out, I think it's definitely worthy of follow-ups, because then we can go into a little bit more details.
Well, we talked about all that, but okay, that's fine.
Well,
I can come back.
I just think, I haven't read it yet, so I may have more questions, and I could ask you directly because I have your number. But why not promote it? And that's how I roll. But that's coins. Normally when we're on the phone or when you hear your voice, I'm not used to hearing no trains.
There's just a train going by now.
Oh, because normally you hear the whistle. It's like, and then I'm waiting for Dead and Five to come on again, like I said.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you very much for coming on the broadcast. I want to thank you for penning these books and, finally just getting it done. Get her done, as they say. I do appreciate it. And also, you're always welcome. I mean, you are like a brother from a different mother for me, but I don't want to be anywhere near your real mom.
Okay, here's an example of my mother. It was Sheldon's mom combined with someone else that would be evil. I can't remember what her.
Would it be Satan?
Oh, Leonard's mom and not Sheldon's mom. Leonard's mother. Leonard from Big Bang.
Yep.
That's she's combined with somebody else, but I can't remember the other character from the show.
She's wow. I mean, there's no words to describe. Just read it, and you're just gonna be like, you will have a lot more appreciation for your own parent. Although mine was pretty evil, but most people I've seen that had issues with their mother. They don't hold a candle to you.
Oh well, I could spend an hour fucking crying about how my mother was. I won't do that, but I mean,
I tell you what, she is a book in herself. So you want to talk about when you just mentioned you were going to do a book about some evil thing that was serial killers were afraid of. Yeah, I think it's about your mom. But again, I thank you very much.
Okay.
We're going to go out from this, but to everybody, enjoy your new year. This is going to be out well before the new year. And leave a comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. It makes a great New Year's gift, being a subscriber to Inside the Goblin Universe on Podbean.com. And we'll speak to you soon.
All right, you guys have a good one. Thank you for listening. I'll see you. Bye.
Hey, this is Bryan Bowden. I want to extend a deep thanks to Purple Planet. You guys rock. You're listening to NoBoBuMe, where we explore deep inside the Goblin Universe. The opinions expressed on NoBoBuMe are of that of the host and his guests. There are spirits everywhere, watching, waiting, seeking that opportune time to reveal themselves like no other. They fill our worlds with so much. Seriously? You didn't just do that. You farted on the promo? What's wrong with you? I thought you were professional. Go away. Go. I got it. I got it. Hey everybody, it's Bryan Bowden, host of NoBoBuMe, where we explore deep inside the Goblin Universe. We have an amazing show that covers the paranormal, conspiracies, music, art, entertainment, trending topics, and so much more. Please join us by subscribing to the show on Podbean at InsideTheGoblinUniverse.podbean.com, on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and everywhere you find podcasts. It's an informative, fun, and overall entertaining good time, and we'll keep the gas to ourselves. Why don't you burp next time? Somebody get me Brian Anderson.
Hey everyone, I'm Kat Ward, host of Paranormal Heart, your monthly paranormal podcast. Join me the last Sunday of every month as I speak to people who share their paranormal experiences. You can follow me on Podbean, YouTube, TuneIn, iTunes, Spotify, and Paranormal Radio.